Hello, everyone. Hope you had a nice weekend. We had a very nice weekend. A full weekend teaching the death meditation. That was a lot of fun. Okay, Mike, I don't see you. There you are. Go ahead and fire up with the mandala, please. So please make the mudra.
Sashi Puki Jukshin Metak Cham Rirab Lingshin Yinde Genpadi Sange Shindu Mikte Owargi Chokun Namdak Shingla Chupashok Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami.
I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving them the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, I will reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Okay. I don't see. Well, let's go ahead and do rejoicing. So let's start with, I just see the Russian name. Katerina, would that be right? You turn your microphone on. No, can't hear you.
Hello,
There
everyone.
you go.
Oh. Hello.
Hi.
I rejoice that I finished my nine course.
Sorry, I can't hear you. I need to turn my microphone up. Try to go again.
I rejoice that I finished my course 9.
Oh, good. Good for you.
The exam.
Wow. Well, good. That's an achievement. Okay, who's next? I can't see everybody. Need to get to gallery. Okay. Let's go with Claudia. What can you rejoice in this one?
I rejoice in the fact that I'm alive and that I have these teachings and I have this group of people where I can study with, and the fact that you're here and you're teaching us and sharing with us all this wisdom. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. And the way to perpetuate that is to do just what you're doing, rejoicing in the fact that you have the karma now to have teachers and a sangha to work with. And by rejoicing, knowing that by rejoicing, you're setting the seeds you get in the future. Excellent. No, I hope you enjoyed the death meditation. That was a lot of fun. Okay. Mike, you're up next.
I was going to say the same kind of thing. I'm just like rejoicing for having these teachings. I was feeling a little like down and out yesterday, and so I'm like, let me study course 2, class 2. So I did that for about an hour and a half yesterday, and it just like turned my mood around. So
Oh,
it like put me in a better headspace.
well, that's one of the goals when you're down and your practice isn't going well, or you don't feel like anything. Go back to something you love, some part of the Dharma that you like, and that'll bring you back. So for me, when that happens, I immediately go back to the source of all my good, or the 3 principal paths, and try and see if I still remember it all. And usually I do, and then I'll find one of the stanzas that is particularly appropriate for the day. So good. Well, I'm proud of you. That beats going and watching a baseball game or something. Well, maybe it doesn't, but it's a better thing to do. Well, Cornelia's disappeared. We have a bunch of people recording. Oh, Anastasia, you have something you can rejoice in? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Translation, please. Спасибо.
I will translate.
Спасибо большое. Чему я рада тому, то, что у меня есть способности физические и ментальные. Я могу слышать и читать, и изучать эту дарму. Я каждый день в последнее время это осознаю. И очень-очень благодарна этому, и то, что у нас есть учителя, которые помогают нам в этом пути.
Yeah, I rejoice that I have physical and mental capabilities to read and study this Dharma, and I recognize it the last days, and I am so grateful that we have teachers who are helping us on this path.
No, very good. That's rejoicing. That's going to get you what you need with the Dharma later. Very good. Okay, Alexander, you're up next. What can you rejoice in besides your lovely wife?
Yes, my lovely wife, and also I rejoice that I proactively helped my colleagues at work today, so to avoid and solve problems, so that in future I will have more time for my family and also less stress, and also to have more time to study ACI in the future.
Wow, what kind of work do you do?
Information technology, so IT.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Well, very good. And you're doing exactly right. You're helping others with the knowledge and the wisdom that you can expect to help in the future. That's one of the things that really, when I first started studying Buddhism, I realized that when I was 18 years old and started to drive, the fact that I thought that the way I could expect people to help my sisters and my mother if they had a flat tire on the road was to help others with flat tires. That just seemed to me, for some reason, it was an expectation I could have. And then you look forward that'd be 30 years. And here I am studying bodhicitta and Tonglen, and that's exactly what I was supposed to do. So maybe my bodhisattva vows came with me from a past life. That's the only thing that comes with you besides your mind stream. All the other vows don't. You don't know you have the bodhisattva vows. You do have to retake them, but you approach life with that imbued in you. So that's pretty cool. Okay, where'd Cornelia go? There she is. No?
He has to take care of the children, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what do I have to do? Oh, I know. This is the last, well, not the last time, but I finally turned in my book manuscript after class on Friday. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to put up with me talking about my book project. The next time I talk about it will be when I hear back from the publisher. But it was just constantly looking at it over the last week, looking for small details, trying to make it, I looked at the details, trying to make it easier for the editor to do the editing. And now we'll find out. But I put all the books away, all my references, all my binders, they're all in boxes in storage. So they're not looking at me, trying to get me to look for one more detail. So that's really nice. Okay. So today's class is about bodhicitta and the mind. This is a little bit difficult to teach, so bear with me when we get to the part that's difficult. You'll tell because it won't make a lot of sense coming from me, but we'll give it a good try. So bodhicitta, the short definition of bodhicitta. Now, and this is what's very confusing in the student notes. And I think I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. The short definition of bodhicitta that you find initially in the notes is the wish to achieve total enlightenment for the sake of others. Now, I always wondered about total enlightenment. How can there be partial enlightenment? If you look later in the review courses, I think actually course 15, they talk about enlightenment and total enlightenment. So before we get into that, we're going to talk just briefly, remind ourselves about what bodhicitta, how to get bodhicitta. And there are two ways. During the death meditation, we talked about both of them, but we're not doing that now. We'll just review what we learned in last course. So to develop bodhicitta, you need to have the wish to benefit all living beings, and you need to have the wish to achieve total enlightenment. So one way to do this is through the 7-part instruction on cause and effect. And if you don't remember exactly what that is, we'll briefly review it now. So first, you need equanimity. You need to be able to see everybody equally. So if you want to see everybody equally idiotic or stupid, you're at least seeing them all the same. I'm kidding. You're not supposed to do that. But I struggle with this daily because I just cannot put former President Trump and his colleagues into equanimity. I just can't believe they're that stupid. But I've got to do that. That's my burden. I have to be able to look at him and think, they're just like me. They want to be free from suffering. They're going about it in a way that I don't understand, but I can treat them with equanimity, saying they see something wrong and they're trying to correct it in their minds. Okay, so equanimity. Then see all beings as having been my mother. I struggle with that too. Not that I look at it this way. I see everybody as my mother in the sense that they're trying to teach me something. The greatest thing my mother and father did was teach me to be what I call a responsible U.S. citizen. And that was a gift. I was taught how to read. I was taught not to lie, cheat, or steal. I was taught all of the cultural things that need to be, that a young man needs to know, a young person needs to know. And recently, I saw something that really surprised me. I was taught to eat with a knife and fork, a knife and the fork in the right hand, etc. And when I see people eating what I consider to be, well, incorrectly, I just noticed that recently someone was eating with their silverware in a really bizarre manner. And I immediately thought, well, where'd they learn to do that? And I thanked my parents right then. I thanked my parents for teaching me to eat what I consider properly with a knife and fork. It seems really trivial, but it's movement of the mind. And my first thought when I saw them was, what don't they know how to use their utensils properly? And my second thought was, you know how to use your utensils the way your parents taught you. Maybe that's how their parents taught them. So don't criticize them. Don't think ill of them. Just move along. But it was movement of the mind. So I was critical, and that's going to come back to haunt me if I don't do a 4 powers. So treat everybody the same. See all beings as your mother. Remember the kindness of your mother. She was pregnant for 9 months. And my mom was pregnant for 5 kids in 6 or 7 years. Now Cornelia's shaking, nodding her head. My hat is off to you. And not only remember the kindness of carrying you for 9 months, but then the kindness of raising you, and both Alexander and Cornelia. And this is where I think both mother and father should be included in this, because you both hopefully are raising the children together, and you both have sacrificed, given up doing things you used to do when you didn't have kids. When you want to go do something for yourself, you've got kids to think about. So I really admire parents. It's funny, when my wife and I were first dating, we were pretty serious. We knew we were going to get married. Well, I thought we were anyway. And we were riding our bikes down from her apartment to the dorms at the camp university we were going to. And I just said offhand, so which one of us is going to stay home with the kids? And she looked at me and she says, not me. And I looked at her and I said, not me. And we looked at each other and said, guess we're not having kids. And we haven't. I love children. I really enjoy my young nieces and nephews when they were young, and they've all grown up to be responsible U.S. citizens. But we didn't want to have kids. I don't know if it would have made a good parent. Sometimes I wonder if I would have. And then I realize it's too late now. But I admire families and taking care of the kids and all that. Okay. So you want to repay their kindness, repay the kindness of your parents. And you do that by taking care of them in their older age, making sure they get what they need. My parents were not particularly demonstrative in love. They expected us to do well in school. And when we did, it was like, well, of course, you're expected to do that. Whereas my wife's parents were a lot more demonstrative, really generous and loving. I love my parents. They loved me in their own way. But my wife's parents really showed me how to treat others, not with disdain, not with, well, you're supposed to do that well. If someone does something well for me, I'm proud of them, and I let them know, and I think that's very important. So then you develop love. Love in this case is wanting them to be happy. And I think that comes in so many different ways. We have to be astute, and we have to watch what makes other people happy. What's a good example besides ice cream? Oh, that brings to mind, my mind skipping around. After we get done with this little section, we need to talk about the how and why homework you guys had. Okay, so next you develop great compassion. So love is taking away making them happy, and compassion is taking away their suffering. So there are two forms of great compassion, unenlightened great compassion. The first one is you think it's too bad people are suffering. Instead of changing the channel and saying those idiots over in Somalia, they can't even grow enough food, you have compassion for them. The second form of great compassion is wanting to do something about it. And that's what all of us, I hope, have. It doesn't mean you have to give money. You have to think, for instance, if you're wasting food, throwing out perfectly good food, that's one thing in American restaurants that just saddens me so much. You see how much food is left on the plate when they're finished. Now, part of that problem is the portions in American restaurants are enormous. And if you eat all that, you turn into the size of a small planet. So that's part of the problem. I have one really funny, well, it was funny at the time. I was about 16. My brother was 15. We were on a trip with my mom and my sister. And we were in a Denny's restaurant, kind of a hamburger place. And my brother and I normally ordered a chef salad, which was huge, a milkshake, and a hamburger. Well, the last time we did that, we couldn't finish it. We were full. My mom said, "You ordered it, you eat it." So we didn't waste food. So the way they help, one way they help in a very small way, which will grow with famine in other parts of the world, is to make sure you eat what you cook and you're generous to other people about food. And you dedicate that to have in the future the food that you like and want to eat. Okay. So that's compassion. That's number 5. Number 6, universal responsibility. Take on doing this yourself. You're going to help everyone reach their own enlightenment. You're not going to depend on anybody else to do it for you. That doesn't mean you don't take classes. It means you take the personal responsibility to learn what you need to learn in order to help all beings in an ultimate way. So Mike going back to study instead of watching a ball game, very smart. Okay, lastly, the first one and the 6 steps after that generate the mind of the Buddha, bodhicitta. That's what gets you to develop and begin to lead your life with bodhicitta in the front of your mind. It's not something you think about on your cushion and you'll get to later. It's the constant 24/7 desire to reach your total enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, all living beings. Now, this is where we get into the discussion about the levels of bodhicitta. Later in the coursework, Geshe talks about 3 wishes for enlightenment. The Madhyamika lower school, Svatantrika lower Madhyamika, teaches that there are 3 Buddhahoods. Now notice I say Buddhahoods, I don't say totally enlightened Buddha. So 3 Buddhahoods. There are the listeners and the self-made Buddhas, and their Buddhahood is nirvana. And we'll talk about nirvana in just a little bit. Mahayana talks about total enlightenment, and that's truly Buddhahood as far as Mahayana practitioners are concerned. So when we say totally enlightened, we're talking about the ultimate enlightenment, the enlightenment where you're omniscient, and that's Mahayana bodhicitta. That's Mahayana total enlightenment. The nirvana enlightenments are great. They're a step forward, but you don't get omniscience with them. You only get omniscience when you reach total enlightenment. So what's a listener? I don't know if we've really talked about that. A listener is defined as someone who can hear the Dharma, someone who teaches the Dharma, but they don't practice it. Now, why that would be the case, I don't know. But that's what a listener is. A self-made Buddha appears to reach Buddhahood in this lifetime without teachers. And what that really means is in the past, they had excellent teachers, when in this life, they're karma ripened to become enlightened. Okay, so the definition of nirvana. Nirvana is a cessation that comes from the individual analysis, and which consists of having eliminated the mental efficient obstacles, or bakchaks, in their entirety from your mental stream. So this means you use the 4 Arya truths to analyze what's going on in your life. And you don't really understand the 4 Arya truths until you've had the direct perception of emptiness. So briefly, the 4 Arya truths are the Arya truth of suffering, the Arya truth of the cause of suffering, the Arya truth of cessation of suffering, and the Arya truth of a path to the cessation of suffering. So we're not going to go into great detail of that right now. We will later. Both nirvana and Buddhahood have eliminated suffering, but only total enlightenment, Mahayana Buddhahood, has the omniscience of all things. So, the long definition of bodhicitta, I gave you the short definition. This long one is long, so just listen for now. And it's in the student notes. The long definition of bodhicitta is, first, it's the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, Mahayana, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. Secondly, it's a knowledge belonging to the Mahayana way, which acts as a door for entering the greater way, which is included in the activity side of the standard division into the two of view and activity. We're going to cover the second part in another class. This first part will go into a little more detail. Now, this is the part that, well, I shouldn't, it not so much bewilders me, but it's like, I get it. Why go into this detail? But we do it because that's what we were taught. So the first part explained. Let me read that again. It is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. The greater way here means the Mahayana track. That's pretty obvious, greater scope. A person motivated to reach the state of being able to help all beings in an ultimate way. We must specifically identify which level of enlightenment we're aspiring to. Now, in the notes, he says, Geshe Michael says, when you say the word bodhicitta, you're implying Mahayana bodhicitta. But throughout the student notes, that's not clear. So I always try to say, when I'm talking about bodhicitta, I try and say Mahayana bodhicitta, and then say the aspiration to reach total enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Then it's clear. Can you have bodhicitta without the wish to reach enlightenment? Yes, because it depends on your definition of enlightenment. And for a self-made Buddha and for a listener, their definition of enlightenment is nirvana, the cessation of mental affliction. Now, does that mean nasty things don't happen to them? No. It means they don't respond. Mental affliction is a response to something. If you have the mental affliction of anger, you're responding to a situation with anger. If the mental affliction is gone, as it is in nirvana, you don't respond with anger. Someone gets mad at you and you just say, yeah, whatever. What did I do to get you mad, make you mad at me? Let me see what I can do to fix it. But you don't get mad back. So the focus is, in the first part, is achieving total enlightenment and a state of mind with the aspiration to reach it. So you focus on doing it and you make the plan to do it. He has an analogy here. Focusing on achieving total enlightenment is like when you decide to take a trip, matched with a state of mind with the aspiration to reach total enlightenment, making a plan to actually go where you're going instead of just thinking about it, doing it. The main mental awareness he has here in the notes. Awareness here means just that, consciousness, pure consciousness, without details like awakening from a dream. It's your main mental awareness. That I can't explain main mental awareness. I think it's simply that your mind is aware. You're not thinking of detail. It's the presence of your mind. It's like when you open, well, this is my analogy. There's a computer program on your computer. It's sitting there. It's doing nothing. When you open it, then it's available to do something. So you have a mind when you're asleep. You're not aware of your surroundings. When you wake up, all of a sudden, everything around you, you're aware of. And it's not that you're aware of the color of the walls or the staircase behind Claudia. It's the awareness of how can I put it? It's the big picture instead of the details. Now, true bodhicitta has two thoughts, wanting to help others and wanting to become a Buddha to do so. But Geshe says the mind cannot focus on two thoughts simultaneously. Normally, when you look at someone, you can't see more than one part at a time. You look at my eyes, you're not looking at my chin. You can't be angry and not angry at the same time, normally. The greater way, Mahayana, is in the definition because the other two Buddhahoods do not focus on reaching emptiness, total enlightenment for the benefit of others. Things go by so quickly that it may seem that your mind can hold two thoughts. But those that have slowed their mind down enough, see that mental function comes at 65 per second. So he has an analogy here. It's like lining up rose petals on a target and firing at them. It may seem the bullet punches them all at once, but obviously it must go through them sequentially. Our mental functions are milliseconds of separate awarenesses. So bodhicitta must be the main mind once it's achieved, or else when the thought of wanting to help others is had, then the thought of wanting total enlightenment would have to disappear. But it doesn't, or so they tell us. So what you want is a mind saturated with the idea of helping others. So that your first thought is, how can I help? That's the basis. Then the detail is, well, your first thought is, I need to help, I want to help, I will help. And then your second thought is, how can I help? And then I would suggest your third thought is, what do they need? It's not what I think they need. I need to find out what they think they need. Now, if they think they need something illegal, obviously you're not going to help them with that. But it's really important. Well, it's like, I don't know how often this has happened to you. Someone said, you're talking, you're going to get to a point, and someone anticipates what you're saying. It gets to the point for you. And you have to say, I'm not finished, and finish your thought for them. That's where I talk about listening the way you want to be heard. If you want to be able to complete the sentence, you've got to let the other person complete the sentence. That's happened to me. I worked with a technician once who repeated back to me everything I said. So if I said, please go run this analysis, she'd finish my sentence for me. I'll run the analysis. It was unnerving because it was really kind of creepy. But now I realize that came from my not listening the way I wanted to be heard. So Alexander and Cornelius, when your children say they want more ice cream, you've got to listen to let them finish. Then you can tell them no. I'm curious. I always talk about ice cream. What do you guys, what's the treat? If ice cream is like the supreme treat for me, what would be the supreme? I'm going to ask everybody. So Katrina, for dessert, what would be your favorite dessert? Actually, I've never met a dessert I didn't like. Claudia, what's your favorite dessert?
Oh, I have a lot, but the main ones is also ice cream. We just found an ice cream shop that sells vegan ice cream that is so yummy.
Wow.
And as Gisela say, yo toa. How you say how you say it in Chinese? The desserts, yo toa. Does anyone hear that?
No.
It's like churros, but
Oh, okay. So like
you
a
know,
candy.
like treats, like bread that is sweet. I don't remember the word, sorry.
Have I told you about my curry flavored ice cream I make?
No,
Yeah,
which one is it?
I like curry, the spiced curry. So I take soft serve ice cream like you get from Dairy Queen, at least in the US, and I stir in curry powder and it comes out tasting like curry. That's really tasty. I like it. Okay, Mike, what's your favorite dessert?
Anything chocolate. But I like a fresh baked brownie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and ice cream, obviously.
Yeah.
I went to culinary school and we made a lot. We did like all these crazy ice creams, and we made a lobster ice cream, and we
Oh,
made a bacon and avocado ice cream, and they're
wow.
surprisingly good.
Wow. So you're not a chef?
I am chef, yeah, or I was a chef.
Awesome. Oh, I always wanted to go to culinary school. But
Culinary school was fun, but working in restaurants, not so fun.
yeah, we had a dairy department next to the Department of Biochemistry when I was in grad school. You could go there and they had students that are getting their PhDs in ice cream. And so we had a sunflower ice cream that was slightly salty. It was brilliant yellow, slightly salty. It was absolutely fantastic. Okay, Cornelia, what's your favorite dessert?
I like to eat spicy chili soup
Really? That is weird.
and chocolate.
Oh, now I feel better. You include chocolate. Alexander,
Do you understand me?
yes. Chili soup. Ugh. I don't see that as dessert. Alexander, what do you like for dessert? Whoops. There he is.
Sorry, are you asking me? The
Yeah.
internet was gone for.
Yeah, what do you like
Yeah,
for
okay.
dessert?
So yeah, to be honest, I'm not so the dessert guy. I'm not so in desserts,
What?
but
You can't be
when I
human.
have dessert, ice cream and pudding
Pudding.
and
Oh,
nuts.
I like pudding. I put it this way, I've never met a cookie I didn't like. I like cookies. My wife likes triple berry pie. When you see my wife, if you want to make an offering to my lovely wife, offer her triple berry pie, and you'll be her favorite student forever. Okay, who's left? Anastasia, do you have a favorite dessert?
Yes, brownie and cheesecake,
Ooh, cheesecake. Yum.
ice cream.
Universal ice cream, I think. What's my other? Oh, my Mike will appreciate this. My mother used to make trifle. And oh my God. Oh, the other thing I used to make was really good back when I still drank alcohol was wine cake. Take a yellow cake mix, add a vanilla pudding mix to that, and then add like a half a cup of sherry, mix it all up and put it in a bundt pan. Serve that warm with some whipped cream. Oh my God. Just wonderful. So how'd we get on dessert? Let me see where I was. Oh, wanted to make other people happy. So dessert usually makes other people happy. My lovely wife's grandmother used to always say, eat dessert first. You never know what's going to happen. And then if nothing happens, have it when you're done with dinner. I like that advice. Okay. So where else are we on here? How do we know if we have come close to the wish for enlightenment for the benefit of all? Look for the boundary of your compassion. How easily do you blame others when you're for your own problems? How far out of your way do you go to help others? Now that can be daunting. That can be upsetting because you don't feel you've done enough. But you start with small steps. It's like anything we do in Buddhism that's a big deal. You start small and get larger and larger. Okay. So let's go through this in a little bit different way. So the maimed mind in the definition, you don't make the mistake that only one or other of these two thoughts is bodhicitta. Mental awareness, not to confuse awareness of sensory consciousness of a Buddha who has bodhicitta in all their awareness. Not to confuse the wish for enlightenment of the lower schools for the benefit of others. That's the bodhicitta for the benefit of others is the wish of total enlightenment, not the total enlightenment of listeners and self-made Buddhas. Excuse me for a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. Well, that's kind of a weird class, focusing on mental awareness. I think the important thing out of this is to realize you have to have two parts to the wish for total enlightenment. One, it has to be a constant thing. It has to be in your mind, not on your cushion, but throughout the day. So check throughout the day. Are you doing something to help somebody else? And if you are you remembering to do it with the wish to reach total enlightenment? So you pick up a piece of garbage along the litter along the street. Don't just pick it up and throw it away, thinking, well, I picked up and threw it away. Think, I want my environment, I want the environment for all beings to be clean and pristine and beautiful. So I'm picking up this garbage to set the seeds in my mind for there not being garbage in the future, for there not being garbage in anybody's life in the future. If you do that, you'll soon begin to develop the constant feeling of that. And that's what's important. the constant desire to bring happiness and relieve suffering for all beings. But as we've talked about before, you have to be careful about unintended consequences. Like my trying to get the shopping carts stored properly in a parking lot. That's a great thought. It's setting them in motion for me to not see that kind of stuff in the future. But am I causing someone to lose a job because I did that? In which case, that's terrible. But don't use that to rationalize not doing something. It's part of the game of what I consider the game of being a Buddhist. How can I do best at that which I need to do in support of everybody without doing something that's going to hurt others? So just the idea of unintended consequences. I think that's very important. Okay. Well, that's class, what's that? That's class 3. Let's dedicate. And then if anybody has questions, I can entertain some questions. By the power of the goodness of what I've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So bodhicitta, 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 bodhicitta. The wish versus the action. Now I can give the bodhisattva vows. That comes later. That's in course. I believe that's course 7. And I'd be honored to give the bodhisattva vows for those that are interested. It's a commitment. There are 18 root bodhisattva vows and 46 secondary vows. Some of them have to do specifically with parts of Buddhism, and most of them are just how to treat people properly. But that's another course. So, anybody have questions? We can discuss dessert recipes if you want.
Are we doing the activity of the why and how?
Oh, thank you, Claudia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a terrible. Well, here's my note right here. How and why, underline. Okay, fire away. You're up first.
Okay. I was thinking about the fact that we have this, that I have these teachings, we have it. So el how, I believe is because I shared something valuable to other people in the past, something that I actually changed their lives. And the why, no, the how is I found Diamond Mountain in Geshe Michael like 6 years ago. And I went there and I started my path on Buddhism there. And the why, I remember that I was an au pair, a nanny in the States, in near San Francisco.
Oh.
And I was sharing a lot of lovely things to the kids that I took care. So I was thinking in the time that maybe that was a really beautiful seed that I planted that ripened something beautiful in my life. But actually, I think it's also that we share some knowledge in the past. So maybe
No, that's good. That's very good. Now, one thing that people tend to discount, and I think it's sad. So they say, well, it can't ripen this lifetime unless it's done to a very powerful karmic object. Well, you don't know if those kids in that family were powerful karmic objects or not. I like to think so. I'm just going to guess at it how many years ago, because you couldn't be more than 25. So you were doing this, what, 5 or 6, 10 years ago. You set the seeds then, and they're ripening now with you getting what you consider to be very beautiful and necessary advice. So good. That's a good how and the why. Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Anastasia, what how and why did you come up with?
Я, к сожалению, не подготовилась, но я размышляла над этим.
I unfortunately didn't get ready for that, but I was contemplating about it.
Okay, well, that's the way it goes. It's not necessarily easy. Okay, let's go with Alexander.
Yes, so I was thinking that we own a big house for us and our children. And how? The how is we have worked very hard and saved money for a lot of years. And in addition, the bank lent us money at a low interest rate. So, and the why? We must have helped others to have a lot of housing in the past. And, or I, or we. And we must also have been generous and lent something else to others so that they could fulfill their dreams.
Very good. That's exactly the way it works. Exactly.
Thank you.
How big's your house?
Yeah, for 7 children, it's quite big, so 260 square meters.
216 square. Wow. That's a big house. Nice. Okay, Cornelia. Whoops. What's your how and why? Your microphone.
Sorry. I have 7 children with my partner Alexander. Because we have given or protected or fostered life, we have been able to have so many children.
Very good. Good.
Also that's the how. Mhm.
Good. Good. So the how and the why. Okay, Mike.
So I didn't really take into account the whole past life thing. I was more going cause and effect in this life. But so the one that I thought of was I like to do a lot of lojong. I like to practice lojong. Like that was one of the things that kind of drew me to this and has made a huge difference in my life as far as like my happiness on a daily basis. So I've been practicing lojong, and I was at a store over the weekend, and I had gotten a phone call on my headset. So I was like talking to somebody, and I go up to the counter to check out, and I didn't have any bags. And I didn't even notice that I didn't have bags. I didn't know that the store didn't give out bags anymore. So I'm like preoccupied on this phone call and checking out. And the lady at the cash register is like, "Oh, do you have a store card with us? Like, what's your phone number?" And I didn't. So then she's like, "Oh, well, let's make you a store card and we can save you some money." So I gave her my phone number, and it knocked off $20 off of my total. And then there was a lady next to me, and she just puts like a bag enters my vision. Like I didn't see the lady. Like I just see this bag appear in front of me. And I look to the side and I'm like, is this for me? And she's like, "Yeah, they don't give out bags in the stores anymore. So I have a bunch. Here's some." So, and she starts pulling all these bags out of her purse. So I thought like I was just sitting there like
I kind of had this like out of body experience almost. I was like, what's happening? Lojong is working, you know. So I don't know if that's from things that I did in this life or other generosities that I did in a past life, but that was just it just happened to occur like just last week.
Yeah, it's not so much past life. It's the how and the why for me is how it happened is the physicality, the apparent self-existent, and the why is because of deeds you did in the past, whether it be this life or 10 lives ago. So that's really sweet to have that just all come together like that. That's special. That's we consider, my wife and I consider that to be angels working for you, and not angels with wings and all that stuff. It's people that get it, and help you. Katrina, what was your how and why?
My grandpa, he lived alone, and I'm visit him from a long time, and I think it is how I create my partner, and we are married just 13 years. And also about the house. We have a house, and I'm originally from another town. And when my friends or my husband's friends ask about the room, when we invite our friends from our house,
Well, just go ahead,
yes,
go ahead and say it in Russian. We'll get the turn.
and now we have not apartment, and we have our own house.
Good, good. Well, it's
Sorry, my English is not so well.
well, your English is much better than my Russian. Can't even think of what can I say in Russian. Yet, that's about the best I can do. But the idea of the exercise is to constantly remember the how and the why. The past is your present, the present's your future. The past creates your present creates the future. So by understanding the how and the why, you understand what's going on in your world now and how to make the world you want. I want a world that's clean, so I pick up garbage. I want a world that's cars can park wherever they want, and people aren't obstructing them by leaving carts in the middle of the parking lot. Now, this is a funny story to me, but I like to pick up, if I'm going, let's say, from my car to the grocery store, there's going to be a garbage can at the entrance. So I can pick up a few things if I see it and toss it in the garbage can. So this was in a grocery store. We were going to a movie in El Paso with some of my students. And I see in the distance by a big black SUV, a white package. So I think, oh, if someone left us some garbage there, I'll pick it up and throw it out. So as I got closer, I realized it was a diaper, a used diaper. It was all white, you know how they wrap up a diaper so it's not exposing the poop. So I leaned over and picked it up. My student said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I thought about picking up this garbage. I don't want the karma to ignore something that I thought I needed to do just because it's a diaper. Now, if it had been full of poop on the outside, it would have been justifiable not to do it, but it wasn't. So I picked it up and I took it and threw it out. And they loved telling that story for years. But when you make a decision to do something like that, the wisdom for doing it requires you to complete the action. So the generosity of helping someone, Mike's generosity of having helped someone in the past, ended up being the generosity they gave him. And he knows it came from a past deed. So in order to get that to happen in the future, he needs to perpetuate that. He needs to recognize it came from past good deeds and continue doing those kind of deeds. I think it's tremendously fun myself. I like the challenge. It's like a big puzzle. How can I put the pieces together to make the puzzle complete, the puzzle of my total enlightenment complete? The trouble is, it was started out to be a 500-piece puzzle. Now it's 1,000 pieces. And pretty soon it's probably going to be 5,000 pieces. But that's another story. Okay. So did I get everybody? Cornelia and Alexander, Mike, Katrina, Claudia, Anastasia. I think we got everybody. Okay. So we'll see you today's, what is today? It's Monday. Some days, some weekends, sometime when you're retired, it's just one big weekend. So, okay, we'll see you on Thursday. I love you all. Thank you for participating in the game. We'll try something next week that'll be equally silly, but fun. Okay, go have dessert. Bye-bye. So Mike, I'm still working on the, trying to get my head around the idea. So I'll be in touch with you shortly about how to set up what I need to do. Maybe you could think about this a little. So I'm gonna have these lists, and I'm gonna want a chapter to be lists of 2, and a chapter to be lists of 3, I think. But it needs to be in a format that 15 years from now, someone can open the file. So I think it has to be PDF, because PDF is universally usable by everybody. But it needs to be in a database that's universally usable by everybody. That's where I'm having my trouble, because I used to have a database called Alpha 4, which is really an intuitive database, but that doesn't exist anymore that I'm aware of. And if it's in Alpha 4 and it doesn't exist anymore, what good's the list? So that's my challenge to you, is to come up with some way we can make the list be available through the years. And maybe it can't be. Maybe it has to be printed, and that's the way it'll be available. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay, everybody. Love you all. That's good to see your smiling faces. And is that Magnus sitting there?
Maximilian, yes.
Maximilian. Do all the kids' names start with M? What are you?
Different startings and different names.
What are the kids' names? Oh, no fair looking at paper. You should know this.
Daniel, Andreas, Gabriel, Clement, Sebastian, Isabella und Maximilian.
Wow. We had 5 kids in my family. My dad often had to say, Anne, Kathy, Margaret, David, Richard. That's my youngest son's name. I've got a question for you too. I always ask this of my German acquaintances. Does the name Stumpf really mean stupid and dull?
Sorry, can you repeat? I was
My last name is Stumpf, Stumpf.
Yeah, it's German.
Yeah, I've been told that it means stupid or dull.
No, it means the rest of a tree if it's cut, or if you have a hand that's not
Oh,
whole
so it's
anymore.
like the stump of a tree.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I was told by another student that came from, I'm not sure what part, maybe she's from Austria, that Stumpfman's, well, the reason I think this is when I was 8 years old, we were in Germany. My dad was driving a microbus with 5 kids and my mom, and we went the wrong way on a bridge in Munich. And the policeman pulled us to the side and he started saying, Stumpf, Stumpf. And I looked at my brother and thought, is he calling us by our name? Why is he doing that? My dad said he was calling me stupid. So that's where I thought about it.
There's a second meaning of stumpf. This is when a knife, for example, is not sharp anymore.
Okay,
But
so dull.
not,
So you're telling me I'm dull.
no, I'm not telling this, but this is when
I'm just yanking on you. Okay, enough silliness. Bye-bye. We'll see you on Thursday.
thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.